everyone, it's Alyssa and welcome to You Can Learn Math.
So today is about the area and circumference of circles. Now I'm not great at drawing circles, so I'm going to turn on this little feature so we can draw some nice, pretty, lovely, beautiful circles. Oh yeah. There it goes. It takes it a second. Right, area and circumference of a circle. What do we mean when we say area and circumference? Two separate things. Area, which is often represented as A, refers to all that's inside the circle. And I know I went a little outside the lines there. That's just me making a mistake. It's everything inside the circle. Kind of like the amount of paint you would have to paint this big circle is its area. The other one that we have is the circumference, which is usually represented by shock C. Circumference begins with C. It's represented by C. Circumference is the distance all the way around the circle, that length. Circumference is like the amount of fence you would need to go around this circle. So that's what we're talking about. Area is the amount of paint to paint the whole circle. Circumference is the amount of fence, or like if a pipe cleaner or something, you're going around a circle, how much pipe cleaner you would need. The length of the pipe cleaner, that's circumference. Now there's two different formulas. There's a similarity to these formulas which sometimes causes confusion for students and makes them difficult for them to keep them straight in their heads. So here are the two formulas. Area of a circle is pi r squared, and circumference is 2 pi r. It can also be written as pi d. I'll explain why in a second, but that's less common. Usually it's one. These two are the ones you're usually presented with in your math books. And now that I'm going to turn that ink to shape feature off. There you go. All right, so pi r squared and 2 pi r. And the reason I think you can probably see this, why it can cause confusion for math students, is there's a 2, there's a pi, there's an r. There's a 2, there's a pi, there's an r. So how do I remember which one is which? Well, if you've done the area of triangles and quadrilaterals like squares, rectangles, parallelograms, you're probably already used to the idea of putting your answer with units squared. So if the question was, say, what's the area of this square? And you say, oh, 4 times 4. Let's say these are both inches. 4 times 4, 16 inches squared. Hopefully that's ringing some bells. Hopefully you've seen that before in your math classes. So units squared. You got that power of 2 when we're talking about area. So that can help you remember that the formula for area of a circle is the one where it's a radius squared. Area is units squared. Area of a circle, radius squared. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, when we say radius, we're talking about the distance, the length from the center of the circle to its edge. And that's anywhere. Any of these. This is a radius, that's a radius, that's a radius. Any line, the length of that line from the center to the edge of the circle, I didn't quite get the edge there. There we go, is the radius. So that's the measurement you're wanting to use for these calculations. This one down here, pi d, that d is standing for diameter. So the diameter being a line that goes straight through the center of the circle, which, as you might notice, is equal to 2 radii. Yeah, I know that's awkward, but that is the plural of radius. It's not radiuses. Yeah, it's not a pretty word either way. So the 2 radii is the same as the diameter, hence why down here we have 2 and r can be replaced by d. 2 times the radius, diameter, same difference. So then we have our last question is, what is pi? You may have encountered pi before, but it's unlikely. Usually pi appears when circles come on the scene. And the reason for that's pretty simple. Pi is the relationship between the diameter of a circle and its circumference. That's literally where pi came from. It came from geniuses long, long ago. If I'm not mistaken, it's Archimedes of Syracuse who was the first one we know of that really did this calculation, and wasn't called pi till much, much later, early 1700s, I believe. But this pi, the ratio between the circumference and the diameter, because we can just prove this really quickly. Let's see if I know the circumference is equal to pi times diameter. If I want to get pi by itself, I would divide both sides by the diameter, and I would get circumference divided by diameter equals pi. So there's our little proof. Pi is the ratio of the circumference to the diameter of a circle. Measurements were made, numbers were divided, pi was acquired. Dun dun dun! And they have their pi, and it is a constant. Every single circle, as a perfect circle in the known universe, has this exact same ratio. Now, one thing to note when you're doing these calculations, please follow your teacher's lead or the instructions in your math book or instructions on the test to know how they want you to present your final answers. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say the question is, what is the area? No, come back, circle, come back. There we go. We have this circle, and we'll say it's a radius of 5. And the question says, what is the area of this circle? Well, let's use our formula. So in this case, r, the radius, is 5. We see that. It's the line from the center to the edge. It's 5. So the area, I'm going to use my formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. And I know my radius is, there's my green, 5. So 5 squared is 25. My area is 25 times pi. And I'm going to put the 25 in front. That's sort of the standard to have the number first, 25 times pi. And whatever units these are. So let's say if this was 5 inches, we'd say this was inches squared. Now here is the point of decision, your decision-making moment. How does your teacher want you to turn in your final answer? In some classes, depending on the circumstance, this is it. You're done. 25 pi inches squared. Other teachers may say, I want you to use 3.14 for pi. That's a rounded value of pi, and you would just type into your calculator 3.14 times 25, and you would get 78.5 inches squared. And that may be your answer. Still, other teachers may say, I want you to use the value of pi in your calculator. Use that little pi button. In that case, and they'll tell you like how many spaces they want you to round your answer to. So in that case, I type in 25 times pi button equals, and let's say they wanted me to round to the hundreds place. Here it would be, I should be using these, this is approximately equal to, that would be 78.54 inches squared. So you'll see it's very important here to know if your teacher wants you to leave it as pi, use a rounded form of pi, or, and I didn't write this, I should have, just use the pi button on your calculator and then give them a rounded answer. Always check with your teacher or read the instructions very, very carefully to make sure you're giving them the answer they're looking for. So this same one, if we did circumference equals 2 pi r, same sort of thing. I'm going to use, so we start with circumference equals 2 pi r. I know that my radius is 5 inches. So I'm going to plug that in over here for r. 2 times pi times 5. 2 times pi times 5. I can multiply 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10, and then that pi stands alone. So I get the circumference is equal to 10 pi inches. This is circumference. It is length. Do not put squared on it. Just put inches. Again, make sure you know what your teacher wants. If they want you to leave it in terms of pi, that's the key phrase to look for if they want you to leave it like this. They say give the answer in terms of pi. Then leave it just like this, 10 pi, or in that previous example, 25 pi inches squared. It's a previous problem. Then leave it like that. If they want you to use 3.14 for pi, you would then multiply that by 10, and your answer would be approximately 31.4 inches. If they wanted you to use the pi button on your calculator and then say round to the nearest hundredth place, I'm going to use that pi button and multiply by 10, then I would get it as approximately 31.42 inches. So this really is a sort of plug and play. Just make sure you find your radius and plug it in. But then the key is going to be making sure you present the answer using the version that your teacher wants. One other quick little thing to look out for that they love throwing in is giving you something like, say, if I can draw a straight line, there we go, like that, and say, like this, and go, okay, what's the area and what's the circumference? And if you're on a roll and you're putting in these radii, popping them into these area and circumference formulas, and you look at this, you might go, oh, okay, area is pi times 14 squared. You just got it wrong. Why? Because they didn't give you the radius. They gave you the diameter. That's 2 radii together. So each radius there would be 7. So instead, you would go like, ha, you will not trick me today. I see you. I'm watching you. That radius is not 14, it is 7. So then you would say my area is pi times 7 squared, or 49 pi, and we'll say these are centimeters. So 49 pi centimeters squared. And then if I needed to multiply that to get a decimal, if my teacher asked me for that, I would do so. And my circumference is going to be 2 times pi times r. And my radius there, again, is 7. So I can multiply the 2 times the 7 to get 14. And my circumference is 14 pi centimeters. And again, I can leave it like that if that's what my teacher says, to put it in terms of pi, or I can use 3.14 or the pi button, depending on what your teacher or the test instructions say. And there you go. That is area and circumference of a circle and all the little tricks and twists they like to throw your way in those kind of problems.
I hope you enjoyed that today. If it was helpful, useful in any way, please like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a great day. See you later. Bye.